Would you like to have a safe and secure portable USB stick with an operating system that you can take with you anywhere you go? Then this video is for you. Today we'll be installing Linux Mint operating system on the USB stick. And not just so you can use it to install operating system on any computer, but so that you have a complete operating system right on the USB stick that you can save changes to, and you can use it on any computer as well. So you can save changes to it, and after you shut it down, it will still keep all the progress that you made. The choice for the operating system is going to be Linux Mint because it is one of the most popular Linux Mint distros and it is very good. And if you plan to switch from Windows to Linux, this will be a really great starting point. This USB stick can be used even on computers without the hard drive, or if they have a hard drive failure and you cannot replace it, you can still use this USB stick, plug it in, and then have an operating system running from the USB stick. So this will be very helpful. I hope you will like it. Let's get started. And before we start, if you're new to the channel, please take a second to click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss new videos. Also, if you find this video helpful, please support it with a like. Alright, without further ado, let's get started. So for this job, we're gonna need two USB sticks. One smaller one, at least 4 GB and up. I've got this 32 GB SanDisk USB drive that I'm gonna be using to flash the ISO. And then the second one is gonna be the one where we're gonna install Linux Mint. This one, you wanna be using the more higher capacity USB stick. I'm gonna be using this Easy Store 128 GB. I think this will be plenty. If you wanna be using a higher capacity, it's all good. The process is gonna be the same. You're just gonna have more room on the operating system. So make sure to get two USB sticks and let's get started. First step we need to do, we need to download the Linux Mint ISO image. For that, go to any browser and in the address bar type linuxmint.com, press enter. It's gonna take us to an official website. The current version of Linux Mint is Linux Mint 22, Wilma. Click on the download button. Here you can choose which Linux Mint edition you want to download. If you have an older computer, I recommend using the XFCE edition. If you have a computer with average specs, use the Mate edition. And if you have a pretty new computer, you can download the Cinnamon edition. I will be downloading the Cinnamon edition, so click on the download button. Then scroll down here to the download mirrors. And you can choose the location that is closest to you, or you can choose the world. It might be a little bit slower, but you're still gonna get exactly the same image. As you can see, there are hundreds of different mirrors you can download the image from. If you want to get it quicker, just choose one of the closest mirrors to you. I will be just using the world one. So just click on the mirror link. It's going to bring us a download window. Usually just save it to the downloads and press save. It's going to start downloading. It is a pretty large image, 2.7 GB, so it might take some time depending on your internet speed connection. My internet speed is pretty good, so it's only going to be about 5 minutes, but I'm going to speed it up so you wouldn't have to wait for very long. Once the ISO is downloaded, we can proceed with the second step. And we need to do verification checks for integrity and authenticity. For that, you need to right-click on these two buttons here, where it says SHA-256sum.txt and SHA-256sum.txt.gpg. Just right click on this button here, then choose Save Link As, then also save it to the Downloads folder, press Save, and do the same with SHA-256sum.txt.gpg. Click Save Link As, save, then click on this Verify button here. Scroll down to this link over here, How to Verify the ISO Image on Windows. Click on it. Then go to the step 2, click on this link over here, gnupg.org, and we need to scroll down here where it says OS Windows, download SIG. So just click on it. It's gonna open up the download folder, then click Save. Then you need to install it. Click Next, Next, Install. It should take about a minute to install. If you're using other operating system, the process might be a little bit different. Once the installation is complete, press Next, and you can just untick this mark here and press Finish. Then go back. Now we need to go to the Downloads folder and just press on this PC. Then hold Shift and right click on the Downloads folder. Choose Open PowerShell window here. This is going to bring up a PowerShell where we need to put in a few commands. And the command that we're looking for is over here, cert util dash hash file space file name dot ISO SHA-256. So this is the command that we need to put in. And the file name, you need to replace it with the name of the file that we have downloaded. First, we need to type cmd and press enter. Then we need to type the cert util, keep all the capitals and all the characters the same, then space, dash hash file, then space, file name. You can just click on this file name here, and then you need to highlight everything with an extension, which is .iso. If, for example, the extension is not visible, just go to this arrow over here, which is going to open up this ribbon at the top, then go to view, and make sure that the file name extension checkmark is activated. Without this checkmark, there will be no extension, so we need to make sure it's activated. And now, when you open it up, just highlight the whole name with an extension, right click, copy, and then go to the PowerShell and press Ctrl+V. It's gonna insert this whole name. Then we need to put space SHA-256 and press enter. It has calculated the alphanumeric sequence, which is this one over here. Then just open up the SHA-256 sum.txt file. It's gonna bring us this alphanumeric sequence also. So we need to compare this alphanumeric sequence against this one over here because we have downloaded the cinnamon. If you have downloaded mate, this is going to be this one right here. And if you have the XFCE, it's going to be this alphanumeric sequence here. So just carefully check all the digits. You might just want to rewrite it with a pen and paper if you want, but I can tell it is correct. So the integrity test for this ISO file is passed. So we're good to go. Next, let's check out the authenticity. And for that, we're going to need to go to this authenticity check over here, then copy and paste this command line here. So just select all and then right click, copy, go to the PowerShell again, then press Ctrl+V and press enter. There we go. Then the second line, we need to copy this one over here. So just select all, right click, copy, go to the PowerShell again, Ctrl+V, and press enter. As long as you see the good signature from Linux Mint ISO sign-in key, we are good to go. You also get in this warning that this key is not certified with a trusted signature, though you don't have to worry about it. As long as you see this good signature from Linux Mint ISO sign-in key, you're good to go. So now once we have checked for integrity and authenticity, we can go to the next step and flash the ISO onto the USB stick. Then go to the Create Bootable Media, and over here where it says Download Etcher, you can just click on it, or you can alternatively go to the etcher.balena.io. So just open new tab and go to the etcher.balena.io, press enter, and this is official website for Balena Etcher. Now click on the download button. And over here, if you're using Windows 32 or 64-bit, just click on the download button here. There's other versions for macOS and Linux, but we're just going to download it for the Windows. Click on it. It's going to bring up again the download window. Press save. It's going to start downloading. Once it is downloaded, just click on it. And there we go. As you can see, it's already working. So now we have to flash the ISO. So we're going to need at least 2 USB sticks. One that we're going to be flashing the ISO on. You can use any USB stick anywhere from 4 GB and up. Like this one here, I'm going to be using the SanDisk 32 GB flash drive because I don't have any smaller size USB flash drives. But after that, you can just format it and you can still use it afterwards. You don't have to keep Linux Mint all the time. Another USB stick that we're going to need, we'll use a higher capacity USB stick. This one is the Easy Store 128 GB USB stick. And the reason why I'm going to be using this higher capacity USB stick, because once we install Linux Mint on it, you want to be able to save some files. So we need at least like 100 GB available so we can use it as our storage as well. But of course, you can use a lower capacity as well. You're just not going to have so much room. So I recommend getting something like 128 GB or maybe even higher if you got some. First, let's go ahead and flash the ISO. And we're going to be using this little guy here, 32 GB USB drive. As you can see, this USB drive is empty. If you have anything on the USB drive, make sure to copy everything, because once you flash the Linux Mint ISO onto the USB stick, everything will be wiped out and you won't be able to recover it. So make sure don't use a USB stick that is important to you, that has some important files on it, because it will format it to a different format and everything that's on the USB stick will be gone. So double check that. And if you're sure that you don't have any important data on this USB stick, we can go ahead and flash it. For that, you just gotta go and click Flash from File, then choose the Linux Mint ISO that we have just downloaded and verified for integrity. Choose it and click Open. Then select the target media, which is gonna be this USB drive that we have just inserted. So just check mark it and press Select. You can also verify that you're choosing the right one by the size. The one that we have is 32 gigabyte, and usually the size is a little bit smaller than the actual size that is stated on the USB stick. There are also two drives hidden here, but as you can see, this is the system drive. We don't want to do anything with this one. And you can definitely see that they're much bigger, so you're not gonna mix them up. Choose this one here and then press Select. And after that, all you have to do is just click Flash. It will automatically start flashing, and it's gonna take a few moments before it's complete. And while it's flashing, I would like to tell you more about Linux Mint and why it is worth checking it out. So first of all, Linux Mint has everything working out of the box. Most of the time it has everything working right out of the box because it has a lot of drivers. There are some drivers that are sometimes missing, like for the Wi-Fi, but mostly everything is working right out of the box. And you don't need to configure anything or to install extra applications. It's just ready to go. Also, it is very configurable and everything is set and tuned nicely by default, but you can still tune it up the way you like it. Another thing, everything is easy to use. The desktop environment in Linux Mint looks very much like Windows, so if you transfer from Windows to Linux, it will be much easier for you to learn Linux Mint than other Linux distros, even like Ubuntu or Pop! OS or any other popular Linux distros out there, because Linux Mint very much look alike like Windows, and it will be easier for someone accustomed to Windows to get used and transfer to Linux Mint environment. Another great feature that I think many people will like is that Linux Mint don't collect data. Like we all know about Windows, especially with the recent feature that they have implemented in Windows 11, where they collect not only your data but the whole screenshot of your desktop, which I think is not very good. On the contrary, Linux Mint don't collect data and they don't work against you. The operating system is designed to do what you want without getting in your way. It also has a lot of software, a lot of features. It constantly getting centralized software updates. You can create system snapshots to recover your Linux Mint if you have to earlier point in time. There is an update manager that you can use to update all of the apps and kernel files. So that's another great plus for Linux Mint. And yet another one that I really like is that it's free and it is open source. It is completely free of cost and almost all of its components are free. So that definitely stands out where all other operating systems cost you money. This one is free. And last but not least, it is much community centric, which means that you will find a lot of people that would like to help you if you run into some issues. There are a lot of forums where you can find information about Linux Mint and how to get around with different things if something doesn't work. The Linux community is much more friendlier and they try to help each other because there is communication between the development team and the community, and they also constantly get in feedback to improve Linux Mint. I think this is really great. But anyway, the flash is complete. Just before we proceed, I'm going to show you another method how to flash the Linux Mint ISO onto the USB stick, because I've been getting some comments under my videos on YouTube where people have having trouble with Balena Etcher for some reason. Like for me, I have been using it for years and I never had any issues, but it seems like a good percentage of people are running into the same problem over and over again. So just in case you're going to run into that same problem, I'm going to show you an alternative method how to flash the ISO onto the USB stick. Alternative program that you can use to flash the ISO onto the USB stick is called Rufus. So just go to the rufus.ie, then press enter. This is an official website for Rufus. I recommend downloading it from the official website and not some third-party links. So just scroll down here and you can choose to download either the standard, the one that you just need to install, or you can use the portable one. I'm just going to download the portable one to just show you how it works. It's going to open up the download folder again. Just click save. And once it's saved, just click on it. And it is a little bit different than Balena Etcher. Balena Etcher is like a super minimized. We just choose file, choose target, and click flash. It does everything automatically. But sometimes you need more options so you can choose it yourself. So I'm just going to insert a different USB drive. For example, I got this SanDisk 128 gigabyte. And as you can see, so here you gotta choose the device. Right now, this is the only device that I can use. It's gonna be the SanDisk. Then over here in the boot section, it is set by default, disk or ISO image. You don't need to change anything here. Over here, you just click select. And then again, you just gotta choose this file, Linux Mint ISO, and click open. As you can see, it has automatically added some features here. Well, first of all, the partitioning scheme is MBR. Depending what computer you have, if you install it on a very old computer, you need to use MBR. If it's on a newer computer, I would say like 5-10 years ago, it is probably gonna be GPT. So you have to play around. If you choose MBR and for some reason your USB stick with Linux Mint doesn't load, well, you have to reflash it with the GPT instead of MBR, and then it should work. Target system is BIOS or UEFI. As you can see, when I choose it to GPT, it only chooses UEFI because it is a newer updated BIOS interface with different features. But if you choose MBR, it's going to be either BIOS or UEFI. Then there's a volume label. Well, it's going to be Linux Mint 22 Cinnamon 64-bit. The file system, large FAT32. That's going to be fine. And then the cluster size, just leave it default 32 kilobytes and just click start. I'm not going to do that right now because I'm going to use this USB stick to actually install Linux Mint on it. But just so you know, this is how it's working. Okay, we can just close it right now. Okay, once we download the Linux Mint ISO, we have verified it for integrity and authenticity, and we have flashed it on the USB drive. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna install Linux Mint on another USB stick. So let's proceed with the next step. Next step, you just need to take this USB stick that you have the ISO flashed on and plug it into a computer. It could be the same computer that you have used to flash the ISO on, or it could be a different one, doesn't really matter. In my case, I will be using this laptop here, but it could be any other computer. There are two ways to start loading from the USB stick. I'm gonna show you both. The first one that I prefer is to access it from the boot menu. And for that, when you start your computer, press a dedicated key that could be either F8, F10, F12, escape, delete, depending on the manufacturer of your computer. I'm gonna put all possible combinations on the screen, so if one doesn't work, just try another one. Once we get to the boot menu, we can choose the USB stick that we need. This is going to be the method number 1, and it is preferable. So as you can see, there are 4 boot options here, and we need to choose the one that says USB CD-ROM. I don't know why it's called CD-ROM still, but it is a USB drive. That's the one we need because that's the only USB drive that we have plugged in. So you can just use the arrows to go to the position number 3 and then press enter, and it will start booting from the USB stick. But like I said, I'm going to show you a different method in case you cannot access this boot menu and it doesn't start loading from the USB stick. There is a different method how to do it. Let me show it to you right now. For the second method, when you start your computer, you also need to press a dedicated key. Usually it is F2, but it also could be other keys depending on the manufacturer. On this Acer laptop, you need to press F2 to enter BIOS, but on other laptops or other computers, the key combination might be different, but the most common are F2 for the BIOS, and for the boot menu is F8 or F12. Your BIOS might require the password, just enter your password. So this is an old version of the BIOS. If you have UEFI BIOS, it will look completely different, but all you need to do, just look for the same sections and the similar names. We're gonna need to look for the boot section, which is gonna be at the very top. So just use the arrow keys to navigate to the boot section at the top. And then over here, as you can see, the boot priority order, there are all these 4 devices that can be used to boot from. And we need to put this USB, CD-ROM USB in the first position. For that, you just need to press F6 and it will move it to the first position. After that, just press F10 and press enter. It will save all the changes. But the disadvantage of this method is that your system will always be loading from the USB stick, And when we need to restart the computer, if you don't remove the USB stick, it will start the installation process all over again. So this is why I don't recommend using this method. But if you cannot get to the boot menu, this is the other way around it. So make sure to keep it in mind. And another tip for you guys, if for some reason you cannot load from the USB stick, make sure that the secure boot is disabled. I'm gonna keep it enabled, but if something goes wrong and I cannot load to the operating system, I will just disable it. Meanwhile, for the installation, so if something's going wrong, try that as well. All right, let's go ahead and proceed with the installation. All right, nevertheless, we're back to the boot menu. So with the arrows, we just gotta choose the position number 3, USB CD-ROM, and press enter. It's gonna bring us this GNU GRUB menu, and this is the menu where we can choose how we wanna load Linux Mint. As you can see, there are several positions that we can choose from. First one is the standard one or the normal one, Start Linux Mint 22 Cinnamon 64-bit. The second one is going to be the Start Linux Mint 22 Cinnamon 64-bit in compatibility mode, which means that Linux Mint will disable a lot of features. It will be just bare bones. This mode is used to diagnose and determine what is wrong with the computer so it doesn't want to run this operating system. If everything works fine, you don't need to use it. Then there's also OEM install for manufacturers. But we're gonna need to use this first one, Start Linux Mint 22 Cinnamon 64-bit, and then just press enter. It's gonna take a little bit, it's gonna start loaded from the USB stick, so it might be taking some time because the USB connection is not super fast, and the computer needs to process all the information from the USB stick to run this operating system, so be patient, it might take up to a minute usually. Of course, if you're using the USB 3.0, it will be a bit quicker than USB 2.0, but on another hand, sometimes USB 3.0 just might be acting up. And of course, it all happens because there are millions of different computers, there's hundreds of different configurations. That's why you might be running into some issues that other people don't run into, but I'll try to give you as many tips as possible so that you can pick whatever you need, and then hopefully some of them will help you. So now we're in the live environment of Linux Mint. So everything is running from the USB stick. You might as well just use this as it is because you basically have all the apps pre-installed. You can connect to the Wi-Fi, which we're gonna do right now. And you can also download a lot of different apps. But the difference between having a persistent USB stick with Linux Mint on it and just a live boot is that everything you do on a live boot is not gonna save itself, and it will be all erased as soon as you shut down the operating system. So it is not very comfortable, but it could be good if you just want to have a super secret operating system where you don't leave any traces because everything will be wiped out. But if you don't want to do that and you just want to have a normal operating system, that's what we're going to do right now. So first of all, let's go ahead and connect to the Wi-Fi. Choose the Wi-Fi network that you want to connect to. I'm going to connect to this 5G network. Then enter the password for your Wi-Fi network. Double check that the password is correct. Then press connect. There we go, the connection established. So now during the installation, it will also download all the necessary updates and all third-party drivers as well. So next we need to install the second USB stick that we have prepared to install Linux Mint on. So this is going to be our 128 gigabyte. So just go ahead and plug it in. So there we go, we have got it opened up here and it is free. We can close this window. Next, click on the Install Linux Mint in the upper left corner and go through the standard installation steps. Choose the language that you like, press Continue. Then choose the keyboard that you like as well and press Continue. Here, I highly recommend putting the checkmark here, Install Multimedia Codecs. These are the multimedia codecs that are required to plate some video formats and to properly render some websites. If you miss that, you can do it afterwards in the software updates and driver updates, but I do recommend just checking it right away. Then it will automatically load everything during the installation process. Also, you need to configure secure boot password, which is required to install third-party drivers. So make sure it's highlighted over here and just choose the password that you like. Okay, we make sure it matches up and press continue. Okay, this is a very important message that we got on mount partitions that are in use. And actually, this is regarding the USB stick that we have just installed. As you can see, the path is /dev/SDB, which is 90% our USB stick, because the internal drive usually SDA, so the SDB would be the second drive, and the only second drive that I have is the USB drive. So we need to try to unmount them, because if you leave them mounted, we won't be able to create, delete, resize partitions, and this is what we need to do. So for this question, we gotta click yes. As you can see, the USB icon has disappeared in the upper left corner. Okay, we got to the very important step of the installation process, which is choosing installation type. In this menu, it allows you to choose how you want to install Linux Mint. As you can see, you can install it alongside with Windows, because I already have Windows installed on this computer. This method allows you to create dual boot system. Also, you can choose to erase disk and install Linux Mint. This will do a clean installation, but it will remove everything from the disk. If you choose something else, you can create and resize partition yourself and choose multiple partitions for Linux Mint. So we need to choose something else and press continue. So to find the proper USB stick, you just need to look for the size. As you can see, it is 124,822 megabyte, which is very close to what we have got on the USB stick, 128 gigabyte, which should be around 128,000 megabyte. Also, you can see the device name is /DAV/SDB, and that is usually how they're named. It could be the SDC as well, but it's usually SDB. And the rest is not what we need. And you can see this is an NVMe. Basically, that's an internal NVMe drive, so we don't want to install Linux Mint there. Now we need to add some partitions to this USB drive. So just gotta click on this plus here. And we can create the main partition where we're gonna install Linux Mint. I will give it 115 gigabyte for that. For the type of the new partition will be primary. Location of the new partition is gonna be beginning of this space. The use as is gonna be ext4 journal file system. As you can see, there are a variety of different ones, but we need the ext4. Then the mounting point is going to be the /, just like this, and press OK. There we go. So we have created a partition where we're going to install Linux Mint on, but we have another almost 10 gigabyte free. You might wonder, why did I do that? Well, I actually did it to use it as a swap area. The swap area allows you to hibernate the system, and also if you use in the RAM extensive applications, it will increase the amount of RAM that you have installed. For example, in this laptop, I have 12 gigabyte of RAM, which is pretty sufficient, but it can also use that area of the swap partition to increase amount for the RAM. Though, of course, it's on the USB stick, so it's not going to be super quick. But anyway, I'm just going to use it as a swap partition. For that, just click on the free space, press plus. Then we're going to leave everything here. We can use the type for the new partition, primary, location for the new partition, beginning of the space, sure. The use as, we need to choose swap area, and then just press OK. So we got our main root partition that will contain the entire Linux operating system, including system files, user application, and configurations. Then we also have a swap partition that will be used for virtual memory, allowing the system to swap out data from RAM to disk when necessary, and it's all ready to go. So what we need to do, we need to choose this over here, just highlight it, make sure it's highlighted like this. As you can see, it's 115 gigabyte SDB1 ext4. That's where we're gonna install Linux Mint. Don't choose just this one or this one. You gotta choose strictly this one. Then another important step is to choose device for the bootloader installation. If you choose it wrong, it will not boot from the USB drive. So make sure to choose this here, the /DAV/SDB, or it could be SDC. It depends how many drives you have in your system. And I can tell this is a SanDisk Cruiser Glide 3.0, 124.8 gigabyte. That's the one. There is also this one here, but this is not where you want to install it. You want to install it over here. So just click on it, and we're all ready to go. So just click install now, and it just warns you that it will write the changes to disks, and it gives you the summary of everything that will be written to the disk. If you want to make some changes, just go back. If you're okay, just click continue. I'm fine with that. Click continue. Then you need to choose your time zone, then press continue. Then choose your username. I'll call it Pulsar Tech, and choose a password. It will be a different password from the secure boot password, so make sure to remember them both. Then you can choose to log in automatically if you don't want to enter the password when you start Linux Mint. I usually choose it, but because it's going to be on the USB drive, if I lose it, anybody can get access to this operating system. So I want to make sure it's protected. So I'll keep require my password to log in. You can also choose to encrypt my home folder. What it means, it's going to encrypt only the home folder where you're going to be saving your documents. And this way it will be encrypted so nobody can access it except you. I'm not going to do that. Just click continue. And there we go. The installation process has started. It started to copy files. After that, it's going to start installation. I will just fast forward it so it's not going to take too long. And I'll meet you when it's all installed. As you can see, the USB LED light is flashing. That means it's copying files to the USB drive. And if you're using the USB 3.0, it will be much quicker than the USB 2.0, or even if you're using like USB 3.2 Gen 2, that will be much faster. So the faster USB drive you're using, the quicker it will copy, and the quicker your operating system will work as well. So now it's finished copying files, and it starts installing the system on the USB drive. It might take some time because during this installation process, it will also download all the necessary third-party drivers and multimedia codecs, so it might take a little bit of time. The installation is almost over. Another few seconds left. Actually, it didn't take very long. I think it was less than 10 minutes altogether. Okay, now the installation process is over. We need to restart the computer and we're gonna load from the USB stick. So just press on restart now. It should ask you to remove the installation medium, which is going to be the first USB stick where we have the ISO flashed on, not the second one where we have installed the operating system on. So go ahead and remove this one and not this one. The smaller one, the 32 gigabyte. Now once it's removed, we can go ahead and press enter. Okay, the USB stick with the ISO is removed, but we still have the USB drive where we have installed Linux Mint on, still inserted. Go ahead and press enter. And also press F12 when it starts to load, because we want to be able to load from the USB stick and not from the internal drive. And there we go. As you can see, we got three options now. One is Ubuntu, another one is Windows Boot Manager. So we need to choose Ubuntu and press enter. We can skip this mock management step. The mock management prompt relates to secure boot and machine owner key management in Linux systems. So we're just gonna continue booting. So just press enter. And there we go, we're back to the GNU GRUB menu. And as you can see right now, we have in Linux Mint Cinnamon 22 and advanced options for Linux Mint Cinnamon 22. And we can also choose Windows Boot Manager if we have Windows. But let's go ahead and try Linux. All right, there we go. It starts to load. And voila, as you can see, it has loaded. So let's just enter our password and press enter. So we have got it finished. The Linux Mint is running from the USB stick and it is fully functional. And it is even great that it has saved the password that we have entered for our Wi-Fi network during the installation. It has copied it to this installed operating system. And like you see, I have the USB stick with the Linux Mint ISO flashed on it in my hand. So it is not running from it, but rather it is running from the USB stick that is plugged in into this laptop. So we can skip this dialog at the startup. It allows you to set up Linux Mint the way you like it, set up Linux Mint desktop colors, use system snapshots, update drivers using Driver Manager, use Update Manager to update software, and so on. Let's just go ahead and close it right now. Let's quickly do some configuration changes to make sure that they're going to be saved after we restart the computer. So for that, very simple, I'm just going to go to this change desktop background, and we're going to change it, let's say, to this one here. There we go. So now we have a different desktop. Let's go ahead and restart computer. and see if it will save the changes after we restart it. Press restart. And just remember that we're going to need to press F12 again to load from the USB stick. Otherwise, it will load from Windows. There we go. It did change it. Let's go ahead and enter the password. Yep. As you can see, everything is saved. We have got the different backgrounds, so everything you do on this USB stick will be saved after you restart it or after you shut it down. This is actually very nice because you have a pretty large USB drive, over 100 gigabytes, so you can save a lot of documents on this USB drive. And by the way, you can actually access drives that are located on this computer as well. Like you can see, you can access the NVMe drive. These are the Windows drives, so you can also utilize these drives as well. So basically, you can use this USB drive on any computer, and even if the computer doesn't have a hard drive, if it has failed for some reason and you cannot replace it, just plug in this USB drive and it will be good to go. And for those of you that have stayed all the way to the end, if you're getting this problem over here when you start computer and you get in this message here, GNU, GRUB, minimal bash like line editing is supported, blah, 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 and you think that it has messed up your computer, don't worry. Your Windows is still intact and it is still there. I'm going to show you how to fix it just in case that happened to you as well as on my computer. So first of all, go ahead and just shut down your computer. Press the power button for like 3-5 seconds. Then start the computer again and press F2 to enter the BIOS or any other key that is designed for your computer. Then enter the password if you need to. Then go to the boot section. And in the boot priority, as you can see, I have this Ubuntu, which was that USB drive in the first place, even though I don't have the USB drive connected anymore, but it is still here. So we need to put this Windows Boot Manager in the first place, like that, and press F10, and then press Enter. Now the computer will start loading normally to Windows. It's just simple as that. So I hope this will solve your problem. There we go. Everything's back to Windows again. So this is it, guys. I hope you find this video helpful. Now we have a complete operating system right on this small USB stick. So you can basically plug it into any computer, go to the boot menu, choose the USB stick, and then have an operating system running from the USB stick, and don't leave any traces on the computer itself. So I think this will be very helpful to everyone. Let me know in the comment section below what you're going to be using it for. Also, let me know what other Linux Mint videos you want me to make. Also, if you find this video helpful, please support with a like, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so you don't miss new videos. Also, if you have comments, questions, suggestions, drop them down in the comment section below. I try to answer your questions and help you if I can. But this is it for today. I hope you have a nice day. See you soon. Bye-bye.